Time now for our international press review in the papers with our own international man of mystery, Clovis Casali. Sorry, kind of light-hearted introduction, but obviously beginning with very serious stuff in Guinea.
Yeah, the death of President Lansana Conté triggered an attempted coup. That's what Aboubacar Sampare, the National Assembly president, told France 24. And this statement was picked up on by the Mail and Guardian, the South African newspaper, says the problem is that Conté never groomed a successor, though he's been ill for a while. The military was a key pillar of support for Conté, and now it remains to be seen how it will act. It seems divided. Not all soldiers support the putsch, and there's even bitter rivalry going on. Journalists from Guinea.A report that some shots were fired in the Alpha Yaya camp in Conakry, where the mutinous soldiers are based. Basically, there's a power struggle between two sides and two generals who want to lead the putsch. French newspaper Libération says Guinea is now in the hands of the army. The problem here is that there are very few journalists there, and two key words for this describe the situation: uncertainty and confusion. British newspaper The Guardian has exactly the same picture as Libération, with loyalist soldiers patrolling in the capital, and just like Libération, it highlights the uncertainty of the situation while stressing that Lansana Conté leaves behind one of Africa's least democratic nations despite regular elections. He kept a ruthless and sometimes bloody grip on power, it's what we are told. Once questioned about police brutality, he even said, "La justice, c'est moi," meaning I am the law.
So, very much a hardline leader, and it's difficult to tell exactly which way the country is going in terms of whether it's going to be military or whether the government's in control. Conflicting reports coming out there.
And there's very little coverage in the newspapers, in the international newspapers, except in the French and the British.
Okay, so all summed up by those articles there. You've had a look at another country in West Africa too, Senegal.
Country stable and relatively prosperous, but due to the global financial crisis, shopkeepers are worried for their business. Of course, we're talking about Christmas. Senegalese paper Le Soleil says the celebrations have a bitter taste this year. The streets are relatively empty and people are careful with their money. The price of Christmas trees, for instance, has been slashed by half. But it's not enough to get buyers to spend their money. They're very careful. And one Senegalese woman says it's because living costs have risen sharply. The financial crisis is clearly affecting the purchasing power of everyone. And business paper La Tribune has decided for once not to talk about it and not to talk about the crisis altogether. Actually, the French newspaper says it won't use the word one single time in its pages. Quite a gamble, but at least it might help readers spend a better Christmas.
Kind of
less worrying.
Cutting the crisis for Christmas, I suppose. That's it. Christmas trees, you mentioned, they're selling like hotcakes outside my flat here in Paris. But there you go. What's next, sir?
Well, throughout the world, people are preparing for Christmas, and some have found ways to buy cheaper presents. Funnily enough, you wouldn't really expect this, but Mexicans are heading north. They're going to the US and Arizona in particular, seeking bargains. The New York Times met with some Mexican families who crossed the border and, despite the heavy traffic, are happy to do so. Two reasons they put forward: selection and price. And one interesting figure: Mexican tourists spend close to $1 billion a year in Arizona, far more than the $330 million the Americans spent in Mexico, than the Arizonans spent in Mexico. Not surprising then that the highest priority of businesses in Tucson, Arizona, is to make Mexican shoppers feel happy and welcomed.
Okay, so there we go. The welcome in Tucson is always going to be big and broad with a smile and probably a 10-gallon hat. Thank you very much, sir, for that international press review. You're watching France 24. Stay with us.